Hello everybody, Andrew Link here, and we're going to be talking about a special kind of photography here. We're thinking about falling water today, especially we're talking about rain. And I do want to say out here at the beginning that if it doesn't rain very frequently where you are, or if you look at the weather predictions for the next week or two and everything is just completely dry, don't worry, because you can use a lot of these same techniques on other kinds of water. You'll even see that one of my examples is a splash. Fog will work fine as well. You can even focus on just the clouds that give us rain, because I've got stuff in here about all of that. But this is about really trying to bring atmospheric water of some sort into your photography. So let's run forward and take a look at these examples. So our topic is called April showers. It's just a little bit of a pun. There's this old saying, it's almost a joke from when I was a kid, and it goes like this. April showers bring May flowers. So what do May flowers bring? And if you grew up in the United States, you know that the answer is pilgrims. But April showers. It often does rain here in April in the spring, at least here on the east coast of the US. And what is just beautiful about this is that rain, it creates an entirely new atmosphere. I mean, if you take a look at this example picture I have here, you can see how the little tiny webs of the spider have grabbed on to the raindrops and just turned into jewels. You can see the drops on the excuse me, you can see the drops on that window and they're just frozen in place, and every one of those little drops has a bent reflection of the world captured in it. It's just beautiful. And of course the lighting when it's been raining, it's complicated. When it's been raining or is raining, the light tends to be dimmer. Obviously, we've got a lot of clouds up there, but it's also more diffuse. It's more dispersed. You don't have a really harsh, sharp light coming from one direction wherever the sun is. You get this more gentle light. So if you get your aperture correct and you use a good ISO sensitivity, you can still take beautiful, beautiful pictures, even when it's gray. Now let's go on to our next page here. Here we've got a couple of different examples. Up top, we just have some clouds. Now these clouds are swirling. Don't worry, it was not a tornado or a hurricane. They were just some very slow moving, churning clouds that I photographed over a bay one day. And I'll tell you, they actually weren't quite this twisty and turny when I took the picture. That deep curve that you see in those clouds, a lot of that comes from the fact that I did it using a phone camera on panorama mode. And remember, when you're taking a panorama, it bends things. And I just made sure that I didn't just try and get like the cleanest picture I could. I specifically held my camera up and twisted it as I was taking the image, because that gave me that twist to the clouds. I mean, there was already a little bit of a swirl, but it made it much more intense. Now, that is just, I think, a beautiful picture and a great way that you can bring rain or potential rain into your photos. So, go ahead and take some cloud pictures. But don't just point your camera up at the sky and click and say, yay, I have a picture of a cloud. Really try and get something that's exciting, that has energy to it, that has joy or terror or foreboding or promise. Think of how the sky, let me start that again. Think of how the sun just bursts through the clouds. Think of how the clouds just weigh down over the landscape. Really try and give energy to those clouds if you're taking cloud pictures. Now, here at the bottom of this example page, we've got a reflection in a puddle. And when I first arrived at the place where I took this picture, it was just a puddle. It was there from the previous night's rain. And the sky was, cloudy, but wasn't raining yet. And there were beautiful, sharp lines of the building reflected in that puddle. But then it started to drizzle, and little raindrops just kept falling and distorting that reflection. So that's something you definitely want to consider as you're thinking of how to bring rain or water into your photography. How could you use the water to show a reflection, and then just bring in a few little drops to distort that reflection in a beautiful way? Going on, we have just kind of an example of how editing can affect an image. And let me move my face out of the way here, because I don't want you to miss just this explosion of water here. So, to fit with our overall theme of rain and storms and water, this is a picture of water splashing up. This is actually a wave that hit the dock that I was sitting on, and it splashed up, and water burst up through the dock. And then as it was falling back down, I captured this picture. But let's talk about something a little bit more than just using your camera to capture falling water. We've done things like that before. I want you to remember that editing can be very important. We talked about this a few times recently in some of my classes, where if you take a picture that's kind of dull and crop it in the right way and adjust the colors just a little bit, and maybe play around with your lighting or your saturation, and maybe even drop it down all the way into black and white, you can get some gorgeous results. So just take a few minutes when you're going over your notes for this week and really look at the example pictures on this page, because what these do is they take you through the steps of editing this picture. And they're not terribly complicated, but it takes the picture from just kind of a dull picture of, a little tiny splash coming out of a dock. And then by playing with my crop until I liked the focus, and then by adjusting my light and my shadows and my sharpness and putting it into black and white, I was able to get what I personally consider a fantastic picture. I really enjoy this photo that's right down here in the big section of the page. And that is just a cropped and lightly edited version of the bigger picture, or the small but rectangular picture over there on the top left. So really do consider editing your pictures. That means that if you're in one of my classes, you're gonna have to take those pictures a little bit early and then spend some time doing your edits. But it's worth it, trust me. It really is worth it to take your pictures ahead of time and then do some very minor tweaks, even if all you do is crop it so that the action in the photo, like right here, goes up along those rule of thirds lines, so that instead of having a wide picture that doesn't quite work, we have a vertical picture that has a real sense of energy as that water bursts upwards. All right, let's go into one more example and some challenges. In this example here, we're just seeing how fog can affect an image. Fog kind of falls under this whole topic of atmospheric water, of falling water. Fog is just rain that's too small to fall. I mean, okay, I'm sure that a scientist would say that I'm wrong on that, but rain too small to fall, fog. It's just hovering in the air. It captures the light, it bends it in unusual ways, and the deeper you go into fog, the more it distorts the light. And so what I've got here, this is just a picture of my son riding on his grandmother's bicycle, and I just wanted to really get a sense of riding into the unknown, riding away into the distance, riding away into something magical, something that cannot be predicted. And I really like it. Now, on a metaphorical level, this totally speaks to me as a parent with, my kid becoming a teenager at about the time that this picture was taken. But it also could just be a fun picture where we have the contrast between the bright red and pink bike and the dull grays of the distance. So it can work on a metaphorical level, it can work on a visual level. I will say that over here on the far right side of the image, it does cut off a little bit awkwardly. And I thought about not including it because of that, but then I decided, no, I like that cutoff because it gives you uncertainty. That's why it does feel awkward. It's uncertain. We aren't sure what's happening right beyond this edge of the picture. But we know there's something there. Just like the rider is going away into the fog, and the kid is going away into the teenage years. Okay, that's at least how I view it. So, some ideas for you as you explore using water and rain and fog in your photography over the next week or so. Try examining the world reflected by water drops in a window. And if it's not raining, that's really easy. Just splash some water on the window and then go take pictures of it. Try using a panorama or wide angle mode on your camera to capture and distort clouds and puddles and raindrops. I mean, I'm so excited for next time it rains to take my camera out in a waterproof case and just point it up into the sky, capturing some long exposures or some panoramas of the water falling. I also do have a nice wide angle lens that I'm going to put on here and really try and capture just the curve of the sky as rain falls down. I'm not sure how successful it'll be, but it's an experiment, and that's the point, is to experiment and grow and try new things. Heading on to the next one. Try to capture the shapes of water drops on plants or spiderwebs or ropes that have been left outside or on a glass of cold water. If you live somewhere where it's not raining and it is hot, okay, get some ice, get some water, put it in a glass, set that glass on a counter or on a window for a couple of hours, and you're virtually guaranteed you're going to have some little water drops of condensation on the outside of it pretty soon. And those can look awesome if you really zoom in on them and really focus on how the world gets bent by those water drops. You could try and explore how water drops add depth to a scene. Fog is especially good for that, but you can also use water spraying from a hose, or like I mentioned earlier with wanting to take a picture up into the rain, so much depth added by those streaks of rain coming down. And finally, consider taking a long exposure of falling water. Now, I didn't put this on there, but you could also try taking a super fast exposure of falling water. That's how you get an image like this one. This was taken on a really fast shutter speed. I apologize, I don't remember what it was at the moment, but that was a really fast shutter speed, and it captured that water right there as it was hovering just before it crashed down again. That's how you get those beautiful kind of spherical shapes of the water drops. Okay, that's a bunch of ideas all centered around the topic of photographing water drops. So I look forward to seeing your results. If you have any questions or if you want to share pictures that you've taken along these lines, go ahead and put the questions or pictures or links to the pictures, I should say, in the comments on YouTube. Those of you who are students of mine, make sure you put those questions in the classroom, because remember, I only answer student questions in our classroom. So I hope that you all have a wonderful, wonderful day and a great week of exploring how falling water can enhance your photography. Take care, y'all. Bye-bye.